Me liking people I know's Instagram posts without looking at them or reading them. Me when my ex-wife asked me why I actually chose to be with her.
That you could do so.
And this was my friends when I told them the single mum I'm now dating is not like all the others. She's well adjusted. Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. Today I'm going to tell you about my top 10 fragrance crimes, fragrances that were criminally discontinued. Before I do that, please remember that if you're looking for fragrance samples in the UK, my recommended UK-based fragrance sampling site is fragrancesamplesuk.com, and I've got a code for you. Mr. Smelly 10 gets you 10% off an amazing array of designer and niche fragrances. My recommended USA-based fragrance sampling site is the Fragrance Decant Boutique website, decantboutique.com, and again that code, Mr. Smelly 10, gets you 10% off a stunning range of niche and designer fragrances. Okay, let's get into this one then, folks. So, discontinued fragrances. I've tried to do some that are going way back to the 70s and 80s when they were released, and then some that were 2000s releases too, because it's you know, there's quite a few fragrances in the last 20 years or so that have been released and then discontinued that we all, well, some people miss, okay? Why did they discontinue these fragrances? Some people say, why did they discontinue this? I think there's two main reasons. One of them is for some reason maybe it becomes impossible to source the right ingredients, or some of the ingredients that were crucial to the fragrance become outlawed, or you can only use them in very small quantities, and that tends to happen with some of these IFRA regulations and things. And the other big obvious one is just that the fragrance simply didn't sell well enough and didn't make the company enough money. So you can't really blame the fragrance companies for discontinuing them, although it does frustrate many of us because they've got to, they can't sell a fragrance that makes a consistent loss, or if it's illegal to make it. Okay, let's get stuck into it. So I'll start off with one that may surprise you because it's relatively recent, well, 10 years ago now. 2014 saw the release of a really charming citrusy aquatic fragrance with a twist, and it's Bulgari's Aqua Amara. Remember, if you're old like me, you can remember when Jeremy Fragrance used to hype this one up. A note listing consisting of mandarin, neroli, olibanum and patchouli. And it was a perfumer, Jacques Cavalier, who composed this one. And this is a really, really nice, citrusy, bitter orange kind of scent with this lovely kind of depth and complexity coming from the olibanum, which is kind of one of the main players in incense, and that patchouli. Gives it a little bit of depth and character. And it's a really charming, juicy citrus fragrance that used to be really cheaply available. I wouldn't go paying tons of money for this one now online because I don't think it's worth hundreds, but it really was a nice release, and I remember buying it for about 30 quid or something when I got mine, and it's really lovely. So what a shame that one obviously didn't take off well enough. Oh, by the way, we have a special summer sale on at Norton & Wilson. So Gravitas Pour Homme are the pillar release. Well, they're all pillars, aren't they? No, one of them's a flanker and the other three are pillars. Anyway, our first release, Gravitas Pour Homme, is on a summer sale now. If you're in the UK, it's only £70 including shipping, and if you're in the USA, it's $90 including your shipping. So don't miss out on that chance. It's a summer sale for Gravitas Pour Homme. Okay, moving on then, we're going way back in time, over 100 years. 1904 saw the release of Mouchoir de Monsieur. I think that means the gentleman's handkerchief. And it was composed by Jacques Guerlain, the head of Guerlain, of course. Amazing fragrance, really interesting. Lavender, bergamot, lemon verbena, neroli, tonka, patchouli, jasmine, cinnamon, rose, vanilla, iris, oak moss and amber. Some people see this as a masculine cousin to Jiki from Guerlain. It has this kind of slightly animalic, civety kind of undertone in there. A little tiny bit gnarly, but it's also very powdery and very gentlemanly. So soapy, powdery, floral combination. Very unisex, very dapper. And it does have this slight musky, sexy, gnarly thing as an undertone, and sadly they do now seem to have discontinued it, although it was around for many years and you used to be able to pick them up for great prices. Really nice if you like your gentlemanly, old school, sort of somewhat barbershop style fragrances. I really like Mouchoir de Monsieur. What a shame they sadly discontinued that one. Moving on then. 1991 saw the release of Versace versus Uomo. 1991. Amber woody fragrance. The note listing is a little bit long. Somebody's described this as dirty, dusty blue, and somebody said it's a sort of a dirty, dusty blue cousin to Guerlain's Habit Rouge. I quite like that description. It's really, really interesting. It's sort of fresh, but it's masculine. It has this understated charm, loads of floral accords in there, lavender, lime, a little bit of a barbershop air about it, but something really unique about this one. So if you do get a chance to pick up a bottle for a cheap price on eBay, or maybe even one of those 5ml things, really, really interesting fragrance from a time when they were were trying to do some new things with fragrances, but it doesn't really fit into any category I can describe. But I really like Versace versus Uomo, an early 90s release, as is Insense. I've often mentioned this one. Givenchy Insense, Daniel Moliere, the perfumer. This is a fantastic aromatic fougere with also black currant. It's got magnolia, iris, and lily of the valley. So the key thing about this one is it's fresh, it's soapy, it's masculine, and it has this wonderful spring blossom thing. It really is spring in a bottle. Maybe because it was consisted of quite a few floral accords, people didn't take to it in the 90s. I don't know. It was ahead of its time or something. Beautiful masculine fougere with floral twists for a man. It's the optimistic smell of spring in a bottle. What a pity we can't get that one anymore. Don't forget, you can now become a member of my channel. Just click join and you get access to exclusive videos made especially for channel members, and you get back issues of the live streams, which are no longer going to be staying up on my channel. Another thing you can also do is join me on Patreon. If you search Mr. Smelly or click the link in the description, that is where you get an extra weekly podcast from Mr. Smelly, only for Patreon members. I'm going to say that a lot in this video. Rochas Lui, 2003. It was Michel Almarac. And he also did, of course, Gucci Pour Homme, the original 2002 one, which I'm not including. I think this is better. It has a similar combination of freshness, woodiness, and this one has this twist of sweetness, which I think maybe is different to Gucci Pour Homme from 2002. So the note listing for this one, neroli, lemon, cedar, amber, patchouli, and vanilla. So it has that beautiful fresh neroli lemon opening. It has this fantastic crisp cedarwood thing, and this just subtle, perfectly blended hint of a very subtle sweetness, and yet it's sort of overwhelmingly fresh, but really, 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 really interesting, masculine, classic, timeless elegance, beautiful bottle design. Rochas Lui, sadly missed by those of us who have been lucky to find a bottle to smell, probably even more missed by those who can't get a bottle anymore. Balenciaga 1990, Pour Homme, Balenciaga Pour Homme, Gerard Anthony. It's a powerhouse. It's really an 80s powerhouse. Some people say it was the first fragrance to have oud in the designer world. I'm not sure. Cinnamon, coriander, laurels, bergamot. There's galbanum. It's green. It's bitter. It has labdanum. It's resonance. There's a hint of a sort of semi-exoticism. It's gnarly. It's musky. It's complex. It's rich. It's a magnificent composition, and it really is masculine 80s style perfumery. Look at that bottle, but it was released. Maybe this is why it didn't take off, as that kind of thing was just maybe beginning to not be so popular, because we had Fahrenheit, and then we had the Cool Waters, and eventually the Aqua. But Balenciaga Pour Homme, if you're lucky enough to find one, a true powerhouse and a legendary fragrance. I'm lucky I got one. Okay, let's move on. We got, what are we going to do next? There's some gems in this video, there really are. We have Moschino Pour Homme, 1990. This is a sort of ambery, woody fragrance, very rich, very complex, hard to describe. And I'm sure, okay, so this one has freshness, it has spices, it has aromatic herbs, and it has a little bit of this benzoin combined with labdanum. So again, there's that kind of resonance thing, but there's also this leather accord in there, which makes it masculine, somehow powerful and charismatic. So it's leather combined with traditional, somewhat powerhouse-esque type accords, but it's got this real smoothness and a very gentrified take on a sort of powerhouse vibe. And again, 1990, they were looking back to 80s style perfumery, but they kind of did one of the ultimate versions of it, I think, with Moschino Pour Homme. Great bottle design on that. Then there's a double-ended one on that you can get two. But let's not get into that. It's a family show. Okay, moving on. Let's do something a bit more recent though. 2003, Colonia Assoluta from Aqua de Parma, composed by perfumers Bertrand Duchefort and the legendary, well, they both are, Jean-Claude Eleanor. This one, bitter orange, bergamot, lemon verbena, sweet orange, ylang ylang, vetiver, jasmine, cedar, pink pepper, cardamom, paprika, oak moss, resins, white musk, and patchouli. It's a beautiful update on the original Aqua de Parma Colonia. I've actually worn it today. It's beautiful, soapy, fresh, delightful, citrus aromatic, like the most beautiful bar of soap you've ever smelled. I prefer it to the original Colonia, and such a shame that this couldn't find a place inside their lineup. They've got things like Pura now, and you've got the original Colonia still there, Essenza still there, Intensa. For some reason, perhaps this wasn't different enough to the original Colonia, but I do actually slightly prefer it. What a pity they went and got rid of it. Next up, it's the legend, the most hyped fragrance in Fragcom, someone said on Fragrantica. I'm not sure about that. Patou Pour Homme. Amazing aromatic fougere fragrance, everything but the kitchen sink note listing. If you like maybe things like Koros, which is kind of a fougere, but you want something a little less rough around the edges, something really smooth and sophisticated. The guy in Miami Vice used to wear it. I've forgotten his name. In the series, I don't know what the actual actor wore. It is really, really potent, beautiful, aromatic fougere at its absolute best. If you like those kind of fragrances, if you can get one for a not too insane price, I'm not saying it's the best one ever. It's maybe overhyped because it's rare, but Patou Pour Homme was a great exemplar of the style. Finally, Rive Gauche Pour Homme, I've mentioned it so many times, I will be very brief. It's like the best shaving foam type smell, the best dad smell ever. 2003 release. Tragically, they discontinued it, reissued it in a square bottle. It smelled just as good, but they discontinued that. Maybe people don't want shaving foam scents so much anymore, but some of us are bringing them back. We will leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, whatever you're doing in life, let's project. And although life sometimes can stink, at least we can always smell good. Bye-bye.
The fragrance I'm talking about is Gravitas Essentia, which is the flanker to Gravitas. It is a really stunning fragrance. And of course, their bottles are absolutely magnificent. They embody my impression of true English sophistication, tradition, honor, and grace.